Krueger. I'm the lead sponsor in the Senate, and I'm joined by Assemblywoman Peoples-Stokes, the lead sponsor in the Assembly. And I think we each have brief opening statements, and then we'll go right to the testimony. And I'm going to hand it over to Assemblywoman Peoples-Stokes.
Thank you so much, Senator, and good morning to you all. It is a great opportunity, I think, not just for us as the people, but for the state of New York, for us to begin entertaining this topic. So I'm going to thank those of you who are here in attendance this morning. I surely want to thank our host, Senator Ms. Krueger, who is the fellow co-sponsor on the proposed bill. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to sponsor this bill in the Assembly. We do have a number of my colleagues who have joined on as co-sponsors, and perhaps some of them may show up here this morning at some point. But this is a committee day, and there are about 20 or so committees going on today as we speak. So it may be a bit of a challenge for me to be joined by any other members. But I think the legalization of marijuana is expected, in my mind, to have some real positive impact on an effect on the criminal law. And in a variety of ways. I think it can reduce stop and frisk, and it can reduce racial profiling, it can reduce unnecessary arrests and convictions and incarcerations, and it can also reduce the demand on the black market for illegally sold marijuana, reducing respective court costs, etc. Legalization will provide immediate access to and relief from the pain and suffering for a lot of medical patients. I also believe that legalization will also provide some leniency for our family court systems, because there's so many families who are negatively impacted by the incarceration rates, that it has a huge impact on foster care, huge impact on social services departments, huge impact on child protective services. And so I think if we can stop locking up fathers and mothers for nonviolent crimes, we can begin to work on putting families back together. And at the end of the day, not only will there be opportunities for the government to, much like they have in Colorado, raise additional resources, but there will be an opportunity to save additional resources via the criminal justice system, as well as the family support systems that government provides resources for. I also think that legalization will provide much needed resources for revenue based on the sale, the regulation, and the taxation. In 2014, in its inaugural month of legalization, the state of Colorado received roughly $2 million, some state more. I think this proposed bill would receive $50 an ounce excise tax and allow municipalities to tax up to 5%. Huge opportunity for municipalities who are struggling in many ways to deal with some called mandates, and some called just generally the cost of doing government. So there is not only just a win opportunity for the state, but there is a win opportunity for local governments. I look forward to hearing comments from the citizens across the state on this topic. I have already in my district office heard from a number of people who are quite excited about the opportunity to not only have this discussion, but to eventually see this bill passed, signed, and enforced. So I join the many constituents of mine who have come to say that they support it, and Senator Krueger and those of you in this room who support it, and looking forward to that opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Well, I too am very proud to be sponsoring this bill and hopefully pushing the envelope for New York State to think through mistakes of our current policies and our historical policies. Similar to Colorado and Washington, the bill that Crystal and I have drafted would tax and regulate marijuana, but remove it from criminal code for personal use. It would change a dramatic number of actions that take place in New York State. Almost exactly 80 years ago, the U.S. constitutional amendment overturned prohibition for alcohol. In New York, Governor Al Smith helped lead the fight to repeal having in 1923 signed legislation ending New York State's enforcement of the federal prohibition laws on alcohol. What we have seen since that time is literally the exact same pattern for marijuana use as during prohibition for alcohol. It doesn't stop people from using it. It just turns it into a criminal activity that translates into discriminatory drug arrest policies that disproportionately impact minority communities, use our law enforcement resources in the wrong way, preventing us from doing the things we need to actually keep our communities and our citizens safe, because so much of our police and court resources are tied up in low-level, personal use marijuana drug offenses. It's created a market for criminal enterprise that we would believe would almost automatically disappear with taxation and regulation, not unlike what happened with the end of prohibition for alcohol. It would create, as Crystal mentioned, additional revenue for the state, some of which can be reinvested in the communities most impacted by this failed drug war. It offers economic development opportunities, particularly in agricultural regions of the state. So we worked carefully and long on this bill. We built in what we believe, welcome Assemblymember. Wherever you like to sit, thank you. We built in many protections. We've listened to large numbers of people in the development of the bill, but really one of the reasons for this hearing is we want to hear from more people. We want to hear other issues that we could, I believe, address in amendments to the bill we've already drafted. But just to go over the basics of the bill we're proposing, it removes criminal penalties for possession of 2 ounces of marijuana or less, makes 18 the minimum legal age for marijuana possession and consumption, establishes that smoking marijuana in public and possession of marijuana by persons under the age of 18 are violations, allows for home cultivation of up to 6 marijuana plants for personal use, not sale, empowers the state liquor authority to grant licenses for marijuana production, transport, and retail sale. Again, we are looking at regulating marijuana within the construct that New York State already successfully has for liquor through the SLA. Prohibits the sale of marijuana to persons under age 21. Allows communities to opt out of retail sale for off-premise consumption through a referendum process similar to what is now in place for alcohol sales. You can actually be a dry town in New York State for alcohol, although I'm not sure there's too many left that take that position. We would allow the same option for marijuana. Allows communities to establishes an excise tax of $50 per ounce of marijuana and authorizes localities to charge a sales tax on retail sales, very parallel to alcohol, and directs a portion of the state tax revenue collected to be directed to re-entry programs, substance abuse programs, job training programs to low-income, high unemployment communities. So as I've said many times over the last few months, personally, I'm not encouraging anyone to use marijuana. I don't intend to use marijuana. I certainly do think we should continue to discourage it for young people under 21 years of age, but like alcohol, which medical research shows may in fact be much more dangerous to people than marijuana, we regulate, we tax, we try to educate, but we don't attempt to turn it into a criminal activity and spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year in police, court, jail policies. We don't end up having to take, well, we hopefully won't end up having to take children away from their parents. We will stop the policies that translate into young people not being eligible for tuition assistance programs. We'll stop the policies where large numbers of people find themselves, because of a bust for a couple of marijuana cigarettes when they're 16, find themselves being prevented from applying for a large number of jobs that are good jobs with real pay for the rest of their lives. We think it's long past time for New York State to move down the road that other states are already successfully moving down. I personally am also a supporter of the compassionate care medical marijuana bill that I'm feeling pretty confident we might see passed in New York State before the end of the session. When that is the case, I think that a larger number of people will be able to focus their attention on why medical marijuana is a good and right answer for New York State, but doesn't go far enough, and that we should be moving to be a tax and regulated state.